Joining us for a little bit until he has that meeting at 8, Dr. Lamar Goree, Caddo Parish School Superintendent. Dr. Lamar, it's been a while. How's your new year so far?
I tell you, my new year has been very busy, but very good. I mean, it's been busy, though.
Okay, let's start with the controversial suggested merging of Fair Park and Booker T. Washington High Schools. First thing is, and it's what struck me the most, is what do you think about that? Because your public comments have been, you're walking the tightrope.
Walking the line, huh?
You're somewhat non-committal. A, do I understand correctly? And B, if you are, why?
Right. Well, I do think that it was very clear that the board had made a decision to vote on this issue. It was described as something that had been talked about for many years. So I do think that the board had made a decision. Staff was not asked prior to that decision being made for a recommendation or an opinion. So in that respect, staff did not have time in a week to give that opinion. And I think that where the board members, just from kind of my whys, I think many of the board members felt they had enough information to move forward. Now, I don't think it's, my role as superintendent, as the only employee of the school board, to second guess or to judge or to even predict what they would do. But it's my charge now to move forward with the result of the 8-4 vote and create an opportunity that's better for children. And,
Are you in favor of this?
That has to be my focus.
Are you in favor of this, Dr. Goree?
It's not that I'm in favor of it at all, but it's my charge to make it work. And my staff has worked diligently since then to support the vote of the board.
Were you blindsided by this proposal?
Knew nothing about the proposal pre it being introduced. But again, and I've told people this before, since the first day I sat in this seat, many of the conversations have been around right-sizing of the school district.
So pardon me, there were no rumors floating, because, some school board members have told us literally the same thing, that they were blindsided, that they were surprised at the speed that the whole thing came up. So there were no rumors floating around. You who knows just about everything that's going on, there was no... It wasn't even being talked about hush-hush in the coat rooms or wherever?
Not at all, sir. I think that when you look at the situation we were in, and I think the number of schools we had closed, and when you say blindsided, I honestly can't say I felt blindsided. I didn't know about it, but I know that there has been so much conversation around the topic, and I guess because I sit in this seat, and that's the type thing that people bring to me constantly. If it's not academic performance of failing schools, it's certainly right-sizing of the school district. When are we going to close a high school? When are we going to close more schools? So much of my day and my life is consumed with that conversation that I didn't feel blindsided. I was surprised, but again, my role as superintendent today is to move forward, and right after the vote, it's to move forward and to come up with a plan, again, that creates a better situation for children.
Dr. Goree, there was a private meeting, I guess Theron Jackson held this week, where you essentially told the crowd that this is not going to be the first school to close. There are others that are in jeopardy. Can you expound on that?
What I will say, though, is when you look at if you look at this from the perspective of right-sizing of a school district, and if you've removed so many high school seats and you've created middle school seats, you're pushing students up. So when you push students up, you're going to then see that you're going to have undersized elementary schools. And at the end of the day, the problem is that when I said this in that meeting, when boards make decisions about capacity, they don't really consider where you live or what neighborhood, but the board has chosen to look at how do we populate our schools so that we're more fiscally responsible. So when you do that, you're going to now see yourself create very small elementary schools. Now, one thing that, my staff has been committed to as we've done this work is to protect neighborhood schools as much as we possibly can. And in that respect, we are trying to make sure that we leave schools intact that are in neighborhoods, but you certainly could see additional lower grade schools close as a result of the passing proposal.
Woodlawn scores have been very similar to Fair Park. Is Woodlawn in jeopardy?
what I will say to you is that Woodlawn and Fair Park both have a lot to be proud of. We are so proud of the growth of both of those schools. And I was very careful, even in my comments, and that's the one comment that I did make during the board meetings, is that I don't feel any teacher, staff, or parent or child at Woodlawn or Fair Park need to be ashamed of their performance. Yes, they do still have an F rating, both within a point of coming off, but they both should be very proud of the rating. Now, the fact is that the RSD does still have the power to do to really control the future of Woodlawn, Fair Park, Atkins, and the Queensboro campus. Now, do I believe Woodlawn will be closed? Absolutely not. And I'd say that because we're in negotiations with the RSD as to what the next plan and what that looks like as we go into this next level of very aggressive work to turn around the schools. The exciting part is when we have this conversation in 6 months, when the results come out, both schools will be out of failing status. So we are proud of the work that we've done. Are we perfect? No, but we are very proud of the work that we've done, and I certainly will stand with anybody and defend the academic initiatives and support that have been provided to both of those schools over the 3 years that I've led this district.
So if they come out of failing scores, can you reverse this merger, or is the train already out of the station?
This train is absolutely out of the station. I do think that the board has the authority, and I've shared this with the group on Tuesday to do whatever. On Monday to do whatever they to do that. But I think that two things were very important in this conversation. And I had the opportunity to listen to everything, and I really did take it in, because then I do believe it's my charge to take the pain, to take the opportunity to create a better opportunity for children. But there were two things that were key. You talked a lot about school performance, but the bigger conversation was around right sizing of the school district and this thing called fiscal responsibility. A big part of that conversation was around teacher pay raises and how do we repurpose money so that we're using them more effectively to produce outcomes for children. And I think that, one thing that I keep telling my staff over and over and over again is that we're all going to receive a lot of phone calls. We're all going to get emotionally engaged and charged, and we're going to feel like we're attacked. And that's when we have to resort to focusing on the children that walk the halls of Fair Park, Woodlawn, Bird, or any school every day. Let's focus on those children and what's best for them.
When you're talking about moving Fair Park to BTW, I guess one of the questions I had was, why move Fair Park to BTW? Why not move BTW to Fair Park? Does that have to do with the superiority or newness of the physical plant?
Right, and I do think, again, I did not write the motion, but I can tell you some of the things that I have observed or things that I was saying. I do think a lot of it does go to physical, to the amenities of the campus, the football field, the newness, a lot of the renovations, a lot of the technical things. But Fair Park's a gorgeous school, and the only thing I am happy that the motion did not close that gorgeous school down, and it does give us an opportunity to repurpose it and to surely continue allowing it to educate children, which is something it's done for 89 years, and I do know history is important, but I'm glad that building will still educate kids. But again, Robert, I could argue both schools would make great high schools.
Why couldn't you ask the Recovery School District for an extension for Fair Park?
Again, the vote, if you read the motion that was presented, I don't think, and again, I'm speaking for the board now in that respect. This is based on comments that I've heard. An extension would mean we keep the school, and I'm going to certainly fight that we keep the school. The RSD coming in, their most restrictive thing would be to close the school down and say we don't educate kids in that building. We're fighting to keep the school and to keep the school as a functioning school in our district. So in essence, I know that's not an extension as you describe it, but that is an extension. But I do believe as you talk to board members, you're going to hear things like, how are we going to continue to fund schools that are undersized? And I agree that Fair Park alumni is right, that they were not the smallest school. But I do think the board members made a choice to start at some point, and this is the point they chose to start at. And they passed it. So, that's why we elect the school board members. And as superintendent, I'm chosen to carry those wishes out.